Good afternoon, I'm Dina Kupfer. We are watching now as Governor Gavin Newsom takes to the podium for his afternoon briefing. Let's listen in.
Related to guidelines for a phased reopening of the American economy. Without getting into any details, the booklet is being sent out in real time to states large and small across this country. We haven't had time to review the booklet and the guidelines in detail, but I do want to extend, just in broad strokes, appreciation for what I heard from the President as it relates to recognizing the differentiation that exists and persists in terms of conditions in counties, not just in states across this nation, and a willingness to recognize and extend that very directly to governors of the need for a phased approach, a thoughtful and judicious approach based upon conditions and based upon the need to act with the kind of specificity at a state-by-state level that is required. So in broad strokes, I just want to acknowledge the words, the President and the Vice President, and their presentation. It's ongoing. Forgive me for having to step away, but I do want to provide our own announcements today, and we have a few people on the phone and didn't want to delay them away from their business any longer as well. Yesterday, we announced specific strategies to address the needs for unemployed Californians and to do more and do better to quickly turn around unemployment insurance checks, to set up a new PUA program, pandemic uninsured, a new system in this state for individual contractors and small individual owners of businesses. We also laid out strategies to help those that otherwise fell through the cracks in terms of the federal stimulus programs. Today, I want to talk about those essential workers that are not unemployed, that are every single day waking up and putting on their uniforms of sorts to take care of you and me. And that's the folks on the front lines of our food delivery system. I want to talk about work we're doing to support that sector and to support specifically the food chain in the state of California. When I speak of the food sector, when I think in terms of the food chain, I think about the people that grow our food, the people that pick our food, the people that pack our food, deliver our food, cook, serve, and sell our food. That's the food chain in the state of California, broadly defined. And that sector, by definition, is essential to our livelihoods and our capacity to meet just basic needs through this pandemic. And that sector in particular has been hard hit by strife, by challenges in terms of health and safety, by concerns around what is happening within food processing plants, meat packing plants, not just, by the way, in the state of California, but you've seen headlines all across America, particularly in South Dakota, related to the same. This is a serious issue, and it requires a serious response and a much more comprehensive response than we have currently offered. And so today, just an hour or so ago, I signed a statewide executive order impacting the entire food chain and entire sector that will allow for 2 weeks of supplemental paid sick leave for workers that have been contracted COVID-19, been exposed to it, or have been exposed to isolation or quarantine orders by local health officials, federal and or state health officials. I hope this will significantly address some of the anxiety our farm workers have, anxiety our fast food workers have, anxiety around the delivery of our food, and those workers have about their own health. We don't want you going to work if you're sick. And we want to make sure that you know that if you're sick, it's okay to acknowledge it, and it's okay to let your employer know and still know that you're going to get a supplemental paycheck for a minimum of 2 weeks. And so I want to just thank the grocer industry broadly. I want to thank UFCW, unions large and small, all across the state of California for working with us, and many leaders across the spectrum, including wonderful conversation I had yesterday with the Latino Caucus that really brought up the importance of focusing on those that pick and pack our food as essential workers, and the dignity of that work and the importance of protecting them at this time of crisis and need. But there are two people in particular I want to thank individually, representing the California Grocers Association and representing UFCW, and that is Ron Fong and John Grant. They're both on the phone, and they have done something very important, and that is they've worked across differences. They've worked together in a collaborative spirit to address some of the largest the needs of some of the largest grocery store chains in America that happen to be here in the state of California, and one of the largest grocer unions, commercial and food workers unions in America as well. And they really started to focus on the needs for sanitation, for hand washing, for breaks to do the same, to address the cleanliness of bathrooms for their workforce, and to make sure that you're protected, but those workers are protected. John Grant has been an extraordinary leader of his union, and John reminded me, and I made this point a few weeks back, that the grocery lines are also the front lines in this pandemic. The essential needs that all of us have of going to the grocery store and knowing those stores are stocked, and knowing what is essential is made available in real time. When this pandemic began to take shape, all of us were struggling to respond to a little bit of binge buying, particularly toilet paper and certain types of breads and meats. That raised some supply chain concerns, some logistic warehousing concerns, not just concerns from grocery workers themselves. We reached out to the California Grocers Association. We talked about what their needs were. We reached out to the union to talk about what their needs were. And they collectively have worked out a framework to agree to a framework to support supplemental paid sick leave, and also to address the sanitation issues. But no one better to describe what they have advanced and what they have done to help me guiding the larger sector-wide executive order than the two people I'll introduce to you briefly. I'll start with the head of the California Grocers Association, who's on the phone, and we'll make a comment or two and turn it over to John, representing the unions, and then talk a little bit more specifically about their leadership after they have a chance to talk more about what advances they've made in terms of an accord.